Greetings, my fellow warriors. I would like to talk about the this article that I found online, and actually, it was suggested to me by Navy commander, and I would like to pass through it and to explain what I think it is going on. There's a few stuff about the article that I would like to mention, and it is article published in NPR, Privatizing Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Is risky? Would it be win for taxpayers or Trump donors? And it was written by Chris Erland and Scott Newman today on February 3rd, 2026. So, what I would like is that to pass through the article and to so I have marked a couple of stuff what I talk about. The article talks about the potential and possible uh, IPO of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, and these several stuff what I did notice and I would like to emphasize. For example, it says former more than 50 years ago, as government sponsored enterprise Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac were owned by private shareholders, stockholders before 2008 housing crash when the government took over to prevent their collapse. So that is not truth. Government put them in conservatorship, but the shareholders and stockholders have been even today. So there is no interruption of the shareholders' ownership of the company. The company was in a conservatorship, but we still own the company, and company government never it did took the control, but it didn't took over the company. So that is the first big deal. So it's incorrect. Next, in the article says about Pulte, and I like the guy. I'm not sure why they already text him. So it says he's the grandson of William Joe Pulte, who is like founded Pulte Homes around. So what? Like the guy is, like the guy has had a grandfather. Wow. So what? But it is not important what his grandfather done. It is important what Pulte done, and Pulte achieved. My opinion, he's the CEO and of the biggest company in the world. It is much more than his grandfather gave him foundation, but Pulte continued to grow, and so it is like really it's pure ad hominem attack. Okay. It is very unorthodox, it's McZandy, chief economist of Moody Analytics, while Johnson argues that it is strikingly weird that fundamental legal underpinning of FHFA has been ignored. About the um, so the question is, uh, FHFA didn't respect a lot of stuff, and now that we expect that it respects something else, so it's FHFA is unprecedentedly fundamental and underpinning and unorthodox and extremely striking and weird existence of uh, that that agency that exists and shouldn't exist because it was like just temporary ownership in the conservatorship until the companies pull out from the in illiquidity. So because of the money didn't have at one point of time money, they put it in conservatorship and they create a whole agency about that. So FHFA is unorthodoxly fundamental and legally underpinning strikingly and extremely weird existence. So it is like they like those news articles are. So it says further. It says last year, Pulte accused Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook of mortgage fraud, an allegation that she has denied. Of course, the criminal will deny that he didn't do it, but there's her signature on the paper. She can deny whatever she wants. There's her signature on the paper as a legal document, so she did sign it. That was the matter of fact. So it's not that she denies or not; she done it. And her attorney, who cares what her attorney says? It's important what basically the judge says. And her attorney called it baseless. Cook, a Biden appointee, is the first black. Who is it irrelevant or irrelevant? Is she black or not? There, those art news articles. They always put the race as a factor. If we put the race as a factor, like in something that would be a problem. But no, it it shouldn't be. The question is she black or not. The White House later cited the fraud accusations as a ground for removing her. Yeah, she made first false accusations in the position where she's not supposed to. That is, she's like government of Federal Reserves, and she took a wrong mortgage. Can you imagine? If somebody told me, I wouldn't believe. um, and as a ground for removing her as, without precedent in the Federal Reserve, more than 100 years history. Yes, it is. The move to remove her is 100-year precedent, but what she done is eternal precedent of the Federal Reserve. So, dude, it's like, of course it's precedent because nobody before her done something like that. Of course they, if like 20 years ago somebody had made mortgage fraud, they would fire him. So it's not that it is precedent. Precedent is what she done, and of course the action to that what she done is of course will be precedent because it will be first time. So and the case has been is being considered. She's still dragging that. I'm very surprised, and that allow Cook to remain on her job for now. Um, So there's also the story about the Besant. There's a story. So it's like there's a story. Somebody told me that Besant threatened to punch Putin face. Treasury Secretary dating back to himself, he has a history of dueling, said Besant responses. It's normal response. If the two guys meet on the street and two guys are tough guys, as basically in the financial world people are, of course it will be harsh word, hard jokes, even like harsh confrontations, but that doesn't mean that they cannot cooperate. What is important that at the FCOC Financial Stability Oversight Council meeting that was happened like 2 months ago, Pulte approached Besant and they shook the hands. Everything was very friendly. You could see that there is no disagreement with them and that they are completely solid. Um, Regarding the IPO and further in the article it talks about the IPO and pulled the decline to rule it out, saying the president would decide in next month or two, whatever, to move ahead with the plan. It's regarding the IPO, and he did that because of IPO. But he, the president is not sure will he do IPO, but uh, in the morning, Maria showed Pulte obviously pointed out that it will be uplist, and we have uplist instead of IPO. That's why they try to first. It's not IPO; it should be secondary SPO, but it's not even that. We know because since this morning it is definitely uplist. Further, so it says about. Is there any value for the taxpayers in the releasing Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac? It is about the Zandy guy, Zandy guy. It says from Puget representative, it means nothing. Says Zandy. That's because he says the government controls and efficiently owns these valuable institutions and even has the right to take all their profits. That is incorrect. Since Lambert suit, that is absolutely incorrect. Government cannot take the profits of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. So let me continue with the quote. Billions of dollars a year. So in a stock offering, he says taxpayers would be giving up something of value in exchange for equal amount of cash. They will get a cash. So it's like, but they don't own nothing. The company is still owned by the shareholders. That's not even maybe. It is ours by the common guys. And so for the government, yes, they will get probably 80% of the company completely unjust through the warrants, and the government cannot take their profit, so it's just sit on the margin doing nothing, because the network sweep is not valuable. That Zandy guy needs to update it. He's like outdated 7 years ago. Like he don't know that network sweep is done like five, how much, 5 6 years ago. That is like surprising, to ask someone about the opinion. He is not updated for 7 years. Kids are born and start to go to school in 7 years. So at the end of the day, it has no benefit to taxpayers. What is a lie? So first, government will receive the money. The taxpayers will receive the money. They don't own. They will take actually our money. They took $250 billion from the network sweep, from the interest on the senior preferred shares. So then they took, like, every year they also took around $10 billion just for the interest of the senior preferred shares. Plus they will most probably, I hope not, take the warrants, and I don't believe it's completely illegal to take the warrants. So Zandy continues, says, so at the end of the day, it has no benefits to taxpayers. What is incorrect? Zandy say, yeah. So it is like the taxpayers will have the benefits. So next question is, key Trump donors could make billions. Okay. Some billions Trump donors could have massive windfall of the representation of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac when the companies have been rescued in 2008 housing crisis. Their stock prices collapsed since the government then essentially owned and controlled them outright. It's not owned, but controlled. So it's didn't own them, essentially owned. And early in the article, they said that government all owned the companies. Like one part of the article is not agreeing with the other part of the article. Some investor later brought those shares at fire sales price, of course, speculating that an eventual release of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac from federal court will cause their stakes to be worth a lot more. Of course, that's why you buy this share, because you will expect it to worth a lot more. Those shares have largely been at the mercy of what government decides to do next. Correct. An exit from the conversion could nearly wipe out the value of that old stock, or could be constructed in a way that significantly rewards those investors. Not if I own a stock for 10 years, 17 years, what is realistically, and the stock was $40, and I own it for 17 years, how much I should be a reward, and what should be the reward? And like, if you take the rule of 72, so it's like 7 and 7 to 14, let's say 15 years, just so it's easier to calculate. So it's from 40, it should go to 80, from 80 to 160. So realistically, that price of that share should be 160. That is like fair value in that aspect. Like, should, if I kept the stock since 2008 up to now, that I gained the fair value. Fair value is 160 because it went from 40, and because of government it fell down. So from 40, we have like a rule of 72. Two times it's 80, 160. So that would be like fair value. And it is not that we are rewarded for something. We are rewarded for the risk. Let me continue. The billionaire investors with large holding of that stock include prominent hedge fund managers. He happens to be major Trump donors. So what? The vocal supporter Bill Ackman, through he's not. He's Bill Ackman is not so vocal supporter of Trump. He's like, I don't believe that he's sincerely his supporter. He's doing it for the because of the company. Uh, Throughout his Pershing Square hedge fund holds stakes in boyfriend Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac that year ago were estimated to worth 1 billion. Yeah, and there's not a lot of Bill Ackmans in the Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, because Bill Ackman owns 200 million shares. Yes, he does, and few more like also in the range of millions. But overall, like 80% of the shareholders are owned by small investors. Oh, and of course, Elizabeth D. Warren. She is like, I'm very worried the Trump administration is very focused on how the billionaires are gonna do in Fannie Freddie. What about us? These 80% of the owners of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are common shareholders, like me, like no one, just the guy on the street, like went to NPR and not paying any attention to at all to the young family that's hoping to buy their first home to do as a conquest. No, it is like complete nonsense what she is saying. So the company will not change its dealing with the homeowners, and especially it will even make it better. Okay, because for example, the Pulte, that's why the Pulte roll out for 50-year mortgage. That's why Pulte took and said that 401k, and Trump also said, and it was probably Trump as the idea, or Pulte and then associated to Trump, that it will be like the 401k can be used as for buying the first home. Um, let's see. In the end, it's almost done. But releasing the companies back into private ownership, what some economists refers as putting them into the wild, is easier than done, uh, said than done, and involves making some big decision that overall decades Congress and private administration have been unable to reach consensus on. It is not that it will be released in company private ownership because they are already. There is shareholders like us. It is consensus for all who believe in private property. Oh yeah, it is, maybe it is not consensus for the those in a Congress, but for releasing the back to the shareholders is actually consensus of all the people who believe in private property rights. If you believe that shares in the in I own the shares in the company, that company partially belongs to me, that should be the right. And that is like, we all who believe in that concept believe that government should return the Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. The 2008 crash, but the government was on the hook for too much risk. He says it's ahead. Shareholders win, tails, and pay. No, it's it. This is in James Lucky, the former president, but the government was on the hook for that too much risk. He says it was had shortcuts that. No, it was not the taxpayers lose. They got like billions of dollars from the company, as we have seen that upstairs that they said, the company, the it is the government who is making the money. It did make up to network sweep, and it took a lot. Took like $250 billion, one quarter of a trillion stole from the company. Next one is Calhoun Center of Responsible Lending. There is a pretty wide agreement that there is a risk of disruption of the market from Fannie Mae stock offering or release from conservative corporate sale. No, it is not correct because the company is already publicly traded. So there's it is no risk. Like we are already publicly traded. What needs to be just to formally release it from the company. In an interview in May on CNBC, Pulte seems to walk back the idea the administration had a plan to fully reprivatize Freddie Mac. I didn't say privatize. Trump said private, didn't say privatize. He said we are talking about an IPO, but we could do that and keep them in conservatorship. Yeah, because there's no privatization because the company is already owned by us. So there's no, maybe they're gonna like they will add some additional shares or execute the warrants or something like that. But the company is already privatized for the last 50 years, and there is shareholders and proper owners of the company currently, And as I said, that is us. So I hope that you did like this small comments. Stay well, my friends. Stay healthy. Stay warm.